Powered by Riverside. Hello, and welcome to TheSadFan, where we talk about the good, the bad, and everything that made us sad from the previous week. Wes just pointed out that I probably need a mic hanger at some point in time, so I can just bring it right to my face.
Yeah.
Regret that hand gesture.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Yeah, I was like, I've made a mistake. Stop with the hand, and the hand just kept going. And I was like, I just leave it in. It's fine.
What do I do with my hands?
Which is fitting because the only NASCAR that we'll probably ever talk about on here will be Ricky Bobby references. Because if you're not first, you're last. And before we get into what made us sad, as always this week, I guess North Carolina decided if we can't be first, we're going to be last. And they were like, we're not going to enter anything.
What sore losers, man. Just so pathetic.
I think they've already been a team before that's made it to the championship, Wes, and then gotten to the NIT, and they were just like, not today, Satan. We're not going to be the team that did it twice. What do you think?
I think they're just crybabies. I mean, yeah, you're number one before the season, and then you just suck ass. And you're like, well, fine. If we can't go, then screw it. We're not doing anything.
Yeah. I mean, Oregon's gone to the NIT so many times, and it really does feel like the losers bracket. But it's still a fun competition, and it's still with like pretty darn good teams that maybe were just stuck in tough conferences, things like that. But no one follows it that closely, but it's still give your players the off season that they the postseason that they deserve. Don't just bow out because it's not good enough for a blue chip team like North Carolina. Like, please.
I feel like it's equivalent to playing in the Sun Bowl.
But here's the thing.
Or like the Idaho Potato Bowl.
Hey, you might get the best French fries you've ever had at the Idaho Potato Bowl, so let's not hate.
Yeah.
Now, Chelsea made a funny point about, or maybe it was Wes, but while Chelsea was talking, was Wes trying to say you think the kids are in on the decision to not play in the NIT?
I think it was. I think the coach said that they left it up to the kids.
So here's my thing with college coaches. They're influencing them. They don't want to go. They want to get started on recruiting. They want to get started on their off season. Go ahead, Chelsea.
Well, that, and it's also like, poor coaching, poor parenting. Like, why let your kids be sore losers instead of them appreciating the season they did have? And yeah, it was beneath their expectations. It wasn't what they wanted for their program, but not every team can win the Super Bowl. Not every team can win the NCAA championship. Sometimes you just have an off year, and they did get invited to a postseason play, tournament. There we go. Jeez,
it's okay.
Please. But to just decline it out of like spite and anger, that's not teaching these kids good life lessons. Like sometimes you just got to make the best of what you got.
So you guys are going. You guys are all in on like emotions. I'm so superficial right now. Here's the thing. Here's the thing with these postseason bowl games that Wes is making fun of, and these alternate tournaments. One, like I said, the coach is heavily influenced. It's never just left up to the kids in college. So just knock that shit off right now. It's never just up to the kids. It's never just the kids' decision. The coaches are heavily influencing behind the scene for what they want. They're the ones that get all the money. They're the ones that control everything. There's a reason why a college coach is a college coach. There's a reason why Nick Saban couldn't make it in the NFL. There's a reason why Fred Hoiberg is going to come back to college eventually, or he might already be back. I don't know. I don't care about Fred Hoiberg. But
I don't even know who
I
that
don't
is.
even know who that is.
He's former coach of Iowa State. Went up to the NBA and didn't do well at all. So what I was going to say is when these kids go to these tournaments, one, they don't have to pay for their experience. The school and the tournament does. All right? The television contracts make more money as well, which means the school makes more money. Then you can utilize that money to benefit the players. But lastly, even at the the Gildan, New Mexico Bowl, Wes. Do you remember the Gildan, New Mexico Bowl?
Yeah,
when we were stationed there?
do.
So here's the thing with that. Guess what? The players get a swag bag whenever they go to a bowl game or a new tournament. And it gets left in their hotel room for them. Exactly. Swag. Yep. Because I didn't know what kind of swag it would be for that. Because I'm thinking, like, what are they going to get from New Mexico Gildan Bowl? Some underwear, Gildan Bowl, some underwear, maybe a couple undershirts from Gildan. You know,
I think everyone got like $200 gift, like Best Buy gift card or some shit.
They would get huge gift cards. Yeah, like it was $500 one year. $500 gift cards to Best Buy. And if you think about it, if you show up at Best Buy on the right day, that's almost an entire PlayStation 5. All right? You got to get there before everyone steals them. But you show up on the right day, that's almost an entire PlayStation 5. They would get passes to eat at the mall. They would get like all kinds of cool swag, backpacks. Like, and some of the backpacks are actually pretty dope. Like, and especially if you're an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid, that backpack is awesome. You're going to rock that backpack the whole next year if you're not going to the NBA.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely, in my opinion, sad for the moniker of the show, but also incredibly selfish. Incredibly selfish by the coaches because, you know, they just want to get into recruiting. They don't want to go to the NIT. They want to go recruit their high school players. They want to go set up for next season. They want to plan. And it really screws over the kids, kind of like Chelsea was saying. So, yeah, no. It's anytime they get to go to an experience, like think about all those kids that get to go to the Bahama Bowl.
Oh, yeah. Bahama
That's
Bowl?
amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Go to the Bahamas, and for a lot of those kids, that's like their first time, like outside of like
out
the
of
country.
Yeah.
I love that it's sponsored by a lawn mowing company.
But yeah, I mean,
so random.
The Hawaii Bowl, like think about that. Like all these kids get these trips that they may never get to go on because, I mean, I'm just going to be a little morbid right now. Some of these kids don't do anything after college. They're just there to play sport. And I mean, we hope that they all do. But this is their one experience in life, and you're taking it from them, and you're going to say, oh, it was the player's decision. Stop it. Stop falling back on your players. The players don't want this. Like, just like back for years, they were like, the players don't want to get paid. The players don't want to get paid. You're an idiot. Of course the players want to get. You just want to keep all the money, Saban.
Money. Yeah.
Yeah, you just want to keep $13 million a year. Saban, you're almost 80 years old. Do you need $13 million a year? What are you doing? You eat soup. But I was ageist. I apologize to everyone that doesn't eat soup that's his age. But you probably all do. I plan on eating soup. I don't see the issue. Let's move to what made us sad. Wes, what has you sad this year?
Kraken. Everything makes me sad this year. Kraken, ever since last episode, Kraken have lost 3 games in a row. So we're still in the wild card, but we're kind of on the cusp. So here's hoping we get it together before. I mean, we were 1 point behind Vegas, and now we're 9 points. So.
That's rough. That is a sharp slide.
Yeah, I mean, especially when
here.
Yeah, because you can't screw up chances when you're near the top of the division. Otherwise, I mean, especially the Western Conference, it's all like pretty bunched up.
How did Las Vegas?
Unlike basketball, we don't have like 50 seeds that get into the postseason.
Yeah, very true. How did Las Vegas become a powerhouse? And like, how long have they been in NHL? 5 years now? 6 years now?
3 years.
3 years?
4 years. 4 years.
It's 4 years. I think my brother's going through COVID time, like more because it's definitely more than that.
I always skip COVID year. I finally bought new shoes from the shoes I bought just before COVID. Like, and I kept saying, "Oh, these shoes are only like a year old. Why are these? These are shitty shoes. Why are they so worn out?" It's because I completely negate that COVID year ever happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just subtract a year. So what are we looking at, Wes? 4 years, 5 years, 6 years?
Their inaugural season, 2017 to 2018.
Yeah,
I was right.
So
6 years.
6 years.
You jerk. You jerk. No, I'm just kidding. But is it weird that they are a powerhouse right now? Because I believe almost all 6 years they made
COVID
the playoffs, right?
Well, I mean, the first year they almost won.
Yeah, they made it to the Stanley Cup.
I think they've made it all 6 years.
I mean, it's funny because I think all franchises now they as we get to this later in the show with Deshaun Watson and the Browns altering what all teams see as a fair contract, and now the Golden Knights have altered all fans' expectations of what a franchise team should be able to do. So now all the Seattle Kraken fans are like, we need to go to the Stanley Cup today, otherwise it's a failure. And it's like, we just started playing.
We do.
Last year.
No. So Stanley Cup or bust. Shut up.
I mean, now we start to see why fan stands for fanatic, or fan is short for fanatic, right? Because the expectations are just ridiculous.
Vegas missed the playoffs last year for the first time.
For the first time. Okay, so 5 out of 6 years in existence, they've been in the playoffs. They're 100% going to the playoffs this year. So it's just, I don't know, man. I think they're a blue blood. Does that count as a blue blood?
They're burgeoning. Blue
I didn't realize we were talking about college basketball here.
I mean, why can't we combine everything? That'd be a super sport. Could you imagine them trying to take off their hockey skates and then put on basketball shoes as they run to the next? That's a crazy triathlon right there.
I want to see basketball on ice skates.
I do not want to see that because I feel like that's a lot of slick jugulars.
Death.
Yeah. Did you forget that there's
everyone just wears like
knives?
Goalie pads? Everyone just wears goalie pads.
Instead of Paul George's like, what is it, compound fracture, you have like timeout in the game.
What about,
we have a skate sticking out of a neck. We have a LeBron James jumped up too high and a skate is stuck in a neck. Like, let's not do that. I don't know. They'd be literally playing on red ice.
What about soccer on ice skates and you can still slide tackle?
Can you imagine someone trying a bicycle kick on skates and you just come down on a rock hard surface?
That would be amazing.
Why would that be amazing?
This is the dumbest
Or come down on someone's face.
Wes is like, we're on here like fighting against concussions in the NFL, and Wes is like, what sports can we have more concussions in? Where can we have gladiators?
More blood.
Wes is over here like, can you imagine MMA on ice skates?
This is almost as bad as my husband's obsession with every sport being on a unicycle.
Oh, yeah.
He's always like, okay, what if it's football, but the quarterback has to throw from sitting on a unicycle?
What if it's unicycling on ice skates?
It doesn't work. You gotta pedal. It doesn't work.
That'd be weird, yeah. I'm trying to think about how that would look. Like, how do you...
Well, you can make the unicycle like a big ice skate blade.
We are so far off topic.
But you gotta make it like, but you can't have it be a wheel, right? No, but you can't have it be a wheel, right? It's gotta be different so it makes the noise. Because if it's all one wheel, it's not gonna make the noise. It's not gonna go... So you gotta have all different ice skates on the wheel. Yeah, so it goes... So you can hear it, sound effects. Otherwise, we're totally off. It's weird to transition from the Kraken to unicycle hockey to Sean Kemp and being accused of a drive-by. So let's just go into what made Chelsea sad.
Well, I mean, I was going to talk about something completely different. I was going to talk about baseball, but we can talk about baseball on ice. Or we can talk about Sean Kemp because...
Could you imagine the stolen bases on baseball on ice, right, though? Like, if we just stop... Oh, my God.
Oh, no.
Sliding leg first.
And then you'd intentionally try to slide, but not into their leg. Sorry, Chelsea, we'll give you back your time. But like you slide so that the ice shavings hit the person that's trying to catch the ball's eyes, right? So they can't catch the ball.
I like it.
All right, Chelsea, sorry.
That's nuts.
Baseball classic meets winter
now she's
classic.
only thinking about sliding into somebody's eyes. See now.
Guys are such dorks. I honestly don't even know.
It's the snow in the eyes, I'm telling you. That's what got you. Now you can only think about, like, someone stealing a base.
No, we're not cutting it out.
Someone goes to catch the ball and the ball hits them in the face because ice slid snow into their eyes. Like, I like, Chelsea, you came up with the best one. This is your fault. Baseball and ice actually could work, and it could be amazing. Could you imagine the pitcher trying to throw 100 miles per hour, and they would just keep sliding towards the base, though?
The ball has to be a puck. The ball has to still be a puck.
Okay, now you've gone too far. I like the idea of baseball, but now you've got to, because I'm thinking now, because think about how much momentum a pitcher does coming off the mound, and I'm thinking it'd be so funny because after they threw the ball, because of all that momentum, they just keep slowly sliding forward. They threw the ball, like, they just be sliding after they threw the ball. Oh my goodness, that'd be fantastic. All right, Chelsea. So, World Baseball Classic, and what made you sad?
the World Baseball Classic is going on, and if you don't know, this is basically the World Cup of baseball, and usually this is not newsworthy. Like we'll just throw it out there that way for various reasons. Mostly,
no one cares. We have spring training going on.
Well, a little bit of and a little bit of the fact that globally baseball hasn't really caught on. It's not really a major sport in a lot of areas, with the exception, obviously, of Latin America, Caribbean, and Japan. So to see some actual other countries starting to show some real actual ability to kick us in America's game, it's really interesting, and it's really cool to see, but it also kind of stings a little bit.
Was that a euphemism for balls? To kick us in America's game is what you said? And I'm like, was that a euphemism for kick us in the balls? Kick us right in America's game.
I didn't intend for that, but it does work. It does work. Okay. I'll take it. We'll pretend like that was my great idea. But yes, the United States lost to Mexico 11-5. Okay. It's very embarrassing.
Who's on the U.S. team? Is it what does it consist of?
Well, so professionals are allowed to play, and this is the first year that Cuban MLB players are allowed to actually play for Cuba, and that is kind of a whole sensitive issue because not many Cuban players have actually elected to play for Cuba, but there have been some other brilliant moments as well. Puerto Rico, why they're playing as their own country. I mean, maybe we should just make them their own country. I don't know. But they did have a perfect, that too, either option. I'll leave it up to the people that live there because that is determinism at its finest. But Mexico had a perfect game against Israel. They beat them 10-0. It was the World Baseball Classic's first ever perfect game, and it sounds like it was a lot of fun. The game was over in Miami, Florida. I haven't... kind of wish I could go to these big fun international events, even just this one, even though it's minor compared to World Cup or Olympics or anything like that. But this does set a really interesting stage for baseball, which is in the Olympics now, to see if maybe we kind of get knocked off of that top podium. I don't know. We'll see.
We haven't been in the World Baseball Classic on that top podium in a while. I think we made a run a while back, but it's typically been the Venezuelas, the Dominican Republics, the Mexicos of the world over the last. I mean, it would be interesting to see if we could ever make it back up there. I just don't see it happening in a game where there's not a ton of national pride involved for the United States, if that makes sense.
And I think a lot of it is the professional players are busy with spring training right now.
That too, and marketing, just simply marketing. Yeah. Because this is honestly the first time that I've heard of it, and I didn't know that it really existed until a whole bunch of people started posting about it in my college football Discord channels for some reason.
I've heard of it, just never paid attention.
Why do you look like you're on a Tinder date when you said that? No, heard of it, but never paid attention. Like you're bored with the conversation that's going on.
Is that your experience with Tinder dates?
I don't have experience. I've been married past the time of online dating. So,
good answer.
But it's just funny because it's like you look like what I would film in a movie, like a Tinder date gone wrong, where it's like, oh, I've heard of it, but just who cares? All catty, like you don't want to be here. You're like, yes, honey, call me and tell me there was an avalanche. Oh, what's that? I've got to go. There was an avalanche at my house in Seattle. I'm sorry. Just be more interesting next time. And then you just leave. Like, is that what you're saying to the World Baseball Classic, Wes? Be more interesting, World Baseball Classic, and maybe pay attention.
Well, I mean, it does actually look like there's been some really interesting matchups. Korea totally kicked China's butt 22-2. That sounds like a really fun game to have been at.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great result.
But no, seriously, oh gosh, I want to go off on a tangent on that. But anyway, so what made me sad this week is some stuff that's just happening recently, and that's going to be Darren Waller getting moved for a third-round pick. And again, gosh, I can't get off the Raiders, but the incompetence of this front office and Josh McDaniel did you know he traded Darren Waller just days after his wedding?
Really?
They're on their honeymoon. Yeah, Darren Waller found out on his honeymoon, apparently. Or at least at least that's what his Instagram says, is that he found out he's going to New York. So guess where his wife plays basketball?
No.
The Las Vegas Aces. Kelsey Plum, my favorite WNBA player, is actually his wife. I didn't realize
they were married.
Yeah, they just got married, so that's okay.
Wow, okay. I didn't know they were.
Guess who broke the news about their upcoming nuptials before they wanted it done? Josh McDaniels did. Josh McDaniels broke the news that they were getting married before they had announced that they were getting married. And then, days after they get married, while they're on their honeymoon, Josh McDaniels trades. Josh McDaniels is not just a terrible coach.
What did they get for him?
A 3rd-round pick.
That's it?
So basically not anything, really. That's terrible. And this kind of reminds me of like some
a good
of the
tight end worth at least a 2nd-round pick.
That's what they were offered last year. Go ahead.
Why are they trying to get rid of Darren Waller?
I think it's because he's a control freak, and I think it's because he and Josh McDaniels don't get along. I think this is going to go awfully. I think this is already off the rails. I think the Raiders are about to go probably 6-11, 7-10 again.
That's optimistic.
It's gonna be bad. Yeah,
5-12.
It looks bad. I mean, it looks awful right now. Go ahead, Chelsea.
As far as this kind of crap goes, this is why, like, we talk a lot about, players being traded and players moving around and stuff. And it seems to me that there is just such a lack of, like, player agency. Sending him to New York without, his input, obviously, since he was shocked by this on his honeymoon, and not to, like, say, like, especially since he's got other considerations with his wife being a professional athlete as well. Like, sending him to, like, an LA team might not be as bad. Sending him to the Bay Area, not as bad. Phoenix,
even Seattle.
Not as bad. Yeah,
even Seattle's not terrible.
I'll take him.
Staying in the same time zone, like, would help a lot. But just, like, what we don't really do very often, I think, is, and by we, I mean both fans, but also, more importantly, the owners, don't consider players to be actual people, but just chess pieces they can move across the board. Like, these people have families that they have to uproot, move across the country on, like, a few days' notice, figure out everything once they get there, and establish themselves there, like, be a part of the community, do, the philanthropy that the team wants them to do, and
do the philanthropy.
I mean, you pay me millions of dollars a year, I'll drop at the drop of a dime.
You know what? But you wouldn't. You wouldn't. Because here's the thing: like once you were at that level, you would grow an ego too. You would want to live your own life. You would want to have vested interest on your decisions.
And I'm sure it gets old, but once you have kids, it becomes a lot harder to just do this. And a lot of these guys do get married younger and have kids and families, and they aren't all us, just older, miserable, childless bastards.
Not miserable. How dare you? I can't be cranky. But mostly what makes me cranky, especially in regards to this situation, is just to go off of what you're saying, Chelsea, is that so many fans tend to side with leadership and management here instead of holding them accountable or requesting accountability from them. And it's very interesting. The reason I get into these arguments is because nobody wants to request accountability. Just they want to hope. And I get it. We're taking their feel good by saying, no, demand accountability from the people running your teams. You would never side with management at your workplace or leadership at your workplace or owners making more money. You think you deserve the money. So why is sports any different? I'll never understand that, where we're like what Wes just said. Here's the thing, Wes, pay me $1 million, I'll do whatever. Sure, until you look up and he's making billions of dollars, you're probably going to be like, hold on a second, this doesn't feel fair. I made $1 million off of something you made $1 billion. That's a little stupid, right? And if more people would think like that, this is honestly probably what gets me in trouble in real jobs, is I'm just like, if you're going to be in charge, I'm going to demand some level of competence. That's just what a normal person should do. Okay, I respect. It's not a lack of respect to demand competence from those that have been appointed to.
It's an expectation.
Yeah.
It's an expectation that if you are making more money than me, that you have it together, or that you are, at least aware of your blind spots. But kind of like, we were discussing this before the show, and my comment was that when you see weird things happen with contracts and fans get really weird about it too, it's because people just don't think about it as it's a class structure.
And they don't think about it as people.
Yes, that too, but like you have, and part of it is because athletes, at these levels make millions of dollars at a time, which the average person just doesn't understand. And the average person also doesn't understand that
Wes's face.
$1 million is closer to zero. $1 million is closer to $0 than it is to $1 billion. And when we're talking about billionaire owners, that is an obscene amount of money. And yes, $1 million, $10 million, $135 million guaranteed is gross. It is a lot of money, and most of us will never see it. But there is still a power dynamic that comes from the owners with their billions of dollars having control over these players, not seeing them as people. And I think if most people thought more critically about what that classist structure is and how it's a microcosm of, the 1%, if you will, but that there's still the same issues that you see as a, grunt line worker, dealing with incompetent management as they do in the NFL. It's just the pay scale is a little bit different, but people don't get it. They just don't.
And in this case, it's a coach with a tiny penis. Yeah, I said it. That needs to control everything, and we've seen that since last year. I mean, honestly, like everybody can talk their talk about Derek Carr, but again, I sat through every single game for years, for 16 years before Derek Carr. I went through every quarterback with Wes. Wes only recognized 2 names on all the quarterbacks they've had since Rich Gannon and since the Super Bowl. All right, so say what you want. He's had almost every season he played a new offensive coordinator. Almost every season he played, he had a new offensive coordinator. Head coach, he had Dennis Allen, Jack Del Rio, John Gruden. John Gruden and Mayock were dumpster fires. Derek Carr has never had a top 15 defense, ever. I don't think he's had a top 20 defense, to be frank. Even when Khalil Mack was there. Never had that, right? So we come in here and we go, well, the quarterback's the problem. No, he's not. Your terrible leadership, terrible organizational control by the owner. This is what's going on. Like, you have to demand some form of competence. And I get it. It takes time to get into a plan. But if you look down at a team that was in the playoffs 2 years ago, just being precipitously worse, you have to go, okay, maybe this isn't the right plan. Okay, your direction, I understand you have one, I think, but it's not the right one for this team. They've cut out the whole team. Everybody's gone. Darren Waller was a Pro Bowl tight end. All they have now is Devontae Adams. They're already talking about trading Hunter Henry. Or not Hunter Henry, pardon me, Hunter Renfrow. Sorry, I don't know why I named a tight end from New England. But they're already talking about getting rid of Hunter Renfrow, and they still have no defense to speak of. They've made no moves on defense, and they're like, well, what about Epps that they signed from Philadelphia? Epps sucks. Stop it. Like, don't throw a guy that sucks at me because he played on a Super Bowl team. I don't give a shit. Yes, Super Bowl teams have shitty players too. It doesn't matter. All right? So you're throwing Epps at me, and they're like, well, he was 6 against the run. Where was he against the pass? 62nd out of 64. Okay, then he sucks because there was no issue with stopping the run, idiots. There was no issue with that. The issue was teams would throw all over us. Oh, but we definitely changed the defensive coordinator, didn't we? Nope, Patrick Graham's still the defensive coordinator. So it's the same damn scheme with the same players expecting something different. It's the dumbest shit I've ever seen. And then all like I just said, and like Chelsea tried to point out, fans side with the ownership. Well, they know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. It's very clear. Stop telling me I don't understand. I understand. I've already said this before. I understand more than you do. You're just delusional because you're high on the drug hope. You can't keep going out there with the same scheme. And because I can't.
Should this be the angry fan instead?
No, don't. You already did that joke. All right, we did it months ago. But we can't keep going out.
See, I have a crappy memory though, so it works for me.
so it's. I made a comment the other day. The Raiders are essentially like right up there with the Jets and the Browns and the Lions. It's not a commitment to excellence. It's a commitment to suck. And I'm
you watch your mouth about the Lions, okay? They almost made the playoffs, and they are trending up.
Yeah, it sounds like their 50 years of existence. They almost made the playoffs. With that being said, I do think it's time to get rid of Josh McDaniel. I think it's time to get rid of Ziegler. Like this is now their second offseason with no improvements.
He's going to be there forever.
I mean, Gruden was going to be, and it's weird to me because look at what a great job Mark Davis did with the Las Vegas Aces. Right, they won a championship. He brought in, obviously, you got Asia Wilson, you got Kelsey Plum, you've got an amazing team out there. But he also he hires Becky Hammond to coach a team that was in the playoffs, a coach that has done great in the NBA. And instead of doing that here, he brings in Josh McDaniels, who was a failed head coach with the Broncos. And it was because of this, if you go back, it was because the players didn't like playing for him. He was too controlling. He's young and he's unproven. And you could be like, well, he won Super Bowls. Bill Belichick won Super Bowls with Tom Brady. I have zero confidence in Josh McDaniels' abilities. Why are you making that face? You're the one that's been saying that for...
Are you done ranting about the Raiders now?
Yeah, sure.
But yes, Lamar Jackson is also in contract negotiations. And, the Ravens have tabbed him as a non-exclusive franchise player. And there's kind of different angles on the story. So, Friday, you were saying that, he's just looking to get paid more guaranteed than Deshaun Watson, and that's kind of his main goal. But from my perspective, I haven't heard a word from his camp, but I do know that it is a little bit controversial because the owners would like to not pay that much in guaranteed salary. Meanwhile, the players are looking to actually kind of change, in general, the amount of salary that they get that is guaranteed, because this is a brutal sport. It messes up your head, literally, but also, psychologically. It messes up your body. Everyone gets injured. It's a meat grinder of a sport. And there should be some protected amount that you actually do get in the bank if you put your body on the line for this team. Mm-hmm. But he's kind of asking for, or seems to not be accepting anything lower than a certain number, which may be Deshaun Watson's guaranteed number, which was a ridiculous contract. But it still is just, there's a lot of ickiness to me around some of the conversations with Lamar Jackson because, again, just kind of like I was saying, but I'm just the weird liberal, socialist, communist, whatever you want to call me this week, where I think people should absolutely get what they're owed from these huge, billionaire owners who own their bodies for years of their life, and they when they retire, they are never physically or mentally the same ever again. But it is what it is, and the other comment to make, too, is that even though he may have advisors, he may have lawyers, he may have, people who he pays to look out for him, I think he's really only accepting advice from his mom and maybe some friends.
The Kawhi Leonard.
He doesn't have an agent. And he has gone into this whole contract negotiation process independently.
I think that's kind of dumb.
Well, the job of an agent here would be to garner interest or gauge interest from other teams and get a number together that's reasonable. They don't want to say the word collusion in the talks, but it appears
it totally is.
It appears that owners are really putting pressure on the Ravens to restabilize a destabilized market because Jimmy Haslam, who's known for just making great decisions with the Browns, overpaid Deshaun Watson by a significant amount. And they'll lose forever for it. Yeah, just a significant amount, and that altered the market. Deshaun Watson deserved nothing, to be frank. But
he deserves jail.
If you go by the actual pay scale and the way the NFL works, if he was going to be the next quarterback to get a contract, in theory, the reason why we always see these weird contracts where Carson Wentz is the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, then Jared Goff is the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, then Derek Carr is the reason you see that is because that's an agent's job, right? Okay, well, this guy got this much. That's what the market's at. So this guy's done, ABC, so they deserve to be at the top of the market. And that's how it works. Unfortunately, Deshaun Watson shot significantly higher than even Patrick Mahomes, who's won 2 Super Bowls now. To be clear,
right.
He's been in the playoffs every year of his career, every year of his career, even when he wasn't starting. Lamar Jackson is within his rights, according to scale, to ask for that money. It's just not realistic. If I was Lamar, I'd want the money. But if I was Lamar, I'd also want to take a look at what teams that pay their quarterback the most amount of money outside of the Kansas City Chiefs have done, which is not win Super Bowls. Sorry, that's just the truth. They don't win Super Bowls. They don't win games. One, it's on the NFL to develop a collective bargaining agreement that's more player-friendly, more guaranteed money-friendly, raise the salary cap. Let these billionaire owners go bankrupt trying to beat each other. I'm fine with that, trying to pay as much money as possible for these players. I mean, it happened in Spain, right, with European football. So let them go bankrupt. Let them make bad decisions. Let their egos take control. And I don't care if fans don't like it. Stop siding with ownership. Go ahead, Wes.
Well, I was going to say, I think the NFL has like the least amount of like guaranteed money, like average, like percentage wise per contract of like of all the American major sports. And it's kind of silly because it is the most like grueling of all of them.
Yeah. And that's why though, if you consider, that's why the owners won't move, because they're like, well, I can't pay you for unavailability, and NFL is the sport where they're most likely to be unavailable. I think it's basketball now, but whatever. Gosh, and here's the thing. I'm not going to have time to get to this again today because I want to get into the NCAA tournament, but Ja Morant is getting help. Good for him.
Good for him.
It looks like it's not just team mandated anymore. It looks like he's gone. I was just recently reading an article that he has taken it upon himself to go get help in, I believe, Atlanta area or the Georgia area, somewhere like that. So, it's no longer team mandated. Good. Now he's going and getting help himself. So it's good. He's, like I said, he's my favorite player to watch right now, and I'm a Warriors fan. That means they got Steph Curry, Klay Thompson still getting it done, and he's still the most – I would pay money to go see Ja Morant dunk a basketball right now. So, I'm happy. I'm happy he's getting help.
You're rich and successful. You don't need to be walking around with a gun and
sometimes
showing
you
it off
cut people out of your life, right? Yeah. Sometimes you just need to cut people out of your life. If only Sean Kemp had learned that earlier in life.
I mean, Sean Kemp was justified, but at the same time, like, what are you doing?
He's done a lot, though. Go look at that. Go look at that Wikipedia.
Oh yeah, he's got a rap sheet. He's got a rap sheet.
That was the joke there. It was more not necessarily about what happened here, but since he's in the news again. I feel bad because, like we all discussed, there was some coded language there, but I had to get my shot in. Like he's not an angel, everyone. Not an angel, but he did make a mistake, and perhaps the reporter should use different language.
And bro, you know my story with Sean Kemp. Like Sean Kemp has personally harassed me in his bar in Seattle that he owned. It's like the stupidest story, but he harassed me there, and I like actually had beef with Sean Kemp.
Now,
NCAA tournament.
Let's talk about the NCAA tournament.
March.
I was already bemoaning that UCLA should not be a 2 seed after being in the top 10 all season.
Absolutely not. They got demoted to a 2 seed because they lost to Arizona in the championship, but Houston did the same thing, and they're still a 1 seed. And let's be honest, Houston is like the new Gonzaga this year. They're gonna lose like Sweet 16, Elite 8. They're not gonna make the Final Four, I guarantee you.
Yeah, I have them kicked out early in my bracket because I hate Mattress Mac. And I want him to lose his $75 million bet.
I mean, do you just hate him because he's an Astros fan?
No.
We've also got, that's not the only controversy. We've got Alabama, who allows their fans to walk in saying, killing our way through the SEC after a young lady was murdered by one of their players. Their best player, probably what's looking like he's going to be a top 10 lottery pick, was involved in that shooting. Brandon, I'm not going to let you get away with like not being involved. I'm going to bring attention to it all the time because you probably shouldn't be playing. And you might be innocent, but guess what? You've got to go to court at some point. You've got to admit it. If you handed this person the gun, you were an accomplice.
You're an accessory to crime.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's still a damn crime.
Yeah, you got to live with this for the rest of your life. You're probably going to get away with it, but someone was murdered because of you. So Brandon Milner, you could say, "Oh, I didn't know what he was going to do." You gave him a gun. You gave him a gun. Yep. He shot a 23-year-old woman. She is dead. And you know what? Not just so you're going to get your bag, you're going to get paid, but you're a terrible person in my book. Not that it matters.
So
my book doesn't mean much.
So is your fan base that is making the memes and the shirts and the whatever.
And the University of Alabama.
Funny.
The University of Alabama
did not
as well.
issue a statement. The SEC actually had to issue the statement on behalf of the SEC and say that they're sorry that this happened. Like, there's just no thought in these people's brains. Like, there is a victim here and a family that is grieving. Like, show some sensitivity. It's so gross.
So, number one team overall. They're in a weak bracket as well. It looks like their toughest game won't be till maybe the Elite Eight against Virginia, unless you got anyone else. West, Chelsea, do you have like any Maryland's, West Virginia, San Diego State's knocking them off?
My brackets are pretty indefensible. One of them I have Purdue winning it all, just because by the time I had already kicked out everyone I hated in college football land, there was only Purdue left, and I was like, all right, fine.
Based it on college football is a great thing to say.
Well, I think there's a good chance.
College football.
No,
there's like, a good chance to get knocked off by Zona or Baylor.
Like, which teams do I like not vibe with?
West.
That's pretty much.
That's Elite Eight. I think it's Sweet 16.
I don't see them getting knocked out before that.
You don't see Virginia winning?
No.
Really? That lockdown defense, Tony Bennett, not the singer?
I don't see them winning it, or I don't see them beating Alabama this year.
And then I've got Chelsea saying she has Purdue winning it. I actually have...
in one of my brackets. In one of them.
Okay,
I have Purdue winning that.
Do you? But they're in the bracket with Memphis, Duke, and Tennessee.
Yeah.
And?
Still. All right. Okay.
Like I said, it's nonsensical, but I love my bracket. I think it is too funny.
I will say the bottom part of that bracket, the whole Kentucky, Kansas State, Michigan State, USC, Marquette, I think that is a weak half of a bracket, though. I don't think any of those teams can knock off Purdue. So it's cool to see that Kansas State is a high seed. I don't know how Kentucky ended up a high seed. Marquette's been really good all year, but you don't trust them really because they're Marquette with no Dwayne Wade. And then you've got Houston. This is Wes's favorite bracket, obviously, as you heard earlier.
Houston
in the same bracket as Iowa, Auburn, Miami, who's been really good this year, in Indiana. That's their top half of the bracket. You see them getting knocked off at all by any of those teams?
Oh, I have them losing to Iowa State.
I have them losing to Miami.
You mean Iowa? Not Iowa State.
No, Iowa State. I'm literally looking at it.
That's the bottom half of the bracket.
Oh, no, so you have Iowa State? So you have Iowa State winning that?
Yeah, I'm more confused at that, I think, is what it is. Like, I'm more confused at how you had Iowa State. I think I had them knocked out by Pitt. I think I have them losing to Pitt, to be honest.
I have Miami winning that region.
Yeah, so, I don't...
So I did a round of, college football risk. And as my brother might know, Iowa State was so when your team dies, you have the option to go join other teams. And so I did eventually join Iowa State's team, and they had the best memes. And I can't wait for their March Madness memes. I'm sure there's going to be some good ones. I'll share them amongst the group.
We're almost out of time, and I wanted to hit the women's bracket really quick. And unfortunately, I'm giving.
Hold on. So
I got it. Kansas, UCLA. I'm there. I was going to get to that, sir.
Okay.
I was just saying I'm mad that we're giving the women not enough time. So I guess we'll go 5 minutes longer here so I can give the women their time. But yes, Wes, I was there right now. So the top half of this bracket is your good teams. The teams we're looking at: Kansas, Arkansas, Illinois, VCU, and not VCU. Pardon me, St. Mary's. I think Kansas dominates that whole half of the bracket, to be honest. Yeah. I don't see a team there. But then the like I was saying when we were earlier in the show, I think this is the weakest bracket. This is why I'm like, okay, UCLA is a 2 seed, but you guys put them in the weakest bracket. They don't play a tough team until you get to Kansas, because the 4 seed, you've got UConn, then TCU, then Gonzaga, who I don't think is good this year, Boise State Northwestern, who I don't think is good this year, and then UCLA. So I actually have UCLA coming out of that bracket.
Yep, UCLA wins it.
Well, I have Texas A&M Corpus Christi Islanders. who just made their way into the big dance.
You just made me go all the way back up to the top of all the brackets because they're playing the number 1 overall seed Alabama, which we're not going to get into yet. We're done with that. So anyway, so Wes, who do you have overall winning your men's tournament bracket?
Purdue.
Wow. So brother and sister, Purdue. Chelsea told me too quickly that she had Purdue. So I didn't get to ask her.
I might have to change it then.
Yeah, well, so
Shit.
I have a couple brackets, and one is Arizona and one is Purdue. But
wow, that was so mean. Shots fired.
Well, I just don't want to pick the same team.
Well, here's the thing. That does make the winning the bracket challenge aspect difficult, because if you had the same team winning and stuff goes awry, then you don't have anything to rely on making a difference. I have UCLA, so that's I've already said in our production meeting and our chat. I kind of feel like mine's kind of a homer bracket, yeah. but I do have UCLA. On to the women's bracket. Really, we got to go through this really quickly. We're about out of time, but I'm just going to be very clear. I've got South Carolina winning back-to-back championships.
Really? I was thinking about it. I was definitely considering it, and I'm not sure. I'm going to do a little bit more research for my women's bracket because I think there's just so much going on, and there's not enough visibility there that I actually do want to put together a fairly serious women's bracket, and actually go through and see if maybe Gardner Webb is going to just take it all. Who knows?
I got the Nerds winning it.
Which ones?
Stanford.
I was like, there's a lot of nerds in this bracket, you dork.
A lot of them.
Yeah, so I've actually got Stanford getting beat, getting beat by South Carolina in the Final Four. But I do have them playing Iowa and Caitlin Clark, and I think Stanford versus Caitlin Clark is going to be an amazing game. I just don't think Caitlin Clark is enough to get it done against an entire team.
Yeah, that's always rough when there's like one player who's just above everyone else. So and just is I don't want to say like stuck with losers, but just like the whole team just isn't brought up to like her level, and it's just she's probably not going to get the rings here, but maybe sign her over to the Aces.
I will say my bracket for the women's tournament is mostly chalk. To be fair.
It usually is. It's usually a lot more chalk than the men's.
I was going to say, that's why I did it, is if you look back, the women's bracket typically goes fairly chalk. But I do have Virginia Tech beating UConn, which I'm super nervous about. It has me super nervous.
Wow. There's one year where it was like 2 regions were all chalk, like even 8 seats. Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's going to be fun. In fact, next week we will do more of a focus on the tournament and where we were at. Okay, so that way we could really hyper-examine everything before we go into, I believe, the Sweet 16, and we will see where we were wrong, where we were right, who we doubted and we shouldn't have doubted. But please don't doubt that we will be back next week because it is coming. And we will see you all later. Don't forget
we will be back on the Sad Raider Fan Show.
I'm going to fix that. Just stop making me miserable. Remember to follow us at the TheSadFan Podcast Network on YouTube. Thanks so much. Have a great week.
Bye.